Okay, welcome back. We're going to answer a couple of questions today. How do leaders put it all together? And then how do you attract better people? Glad you're here to join us. Due to internet connectivity issues, we're scaling down, so I'm not going to have my own video, but hopefully the PowerPoint and the audio will be helpful. So here we are, law number 8, the law of intuition. Law of intuition states that leaders evaluate everything with a leadership bias. And this was kind of a bit of a challenge for me to figure out, but it took some time reading and rereading, and maybe you're smarter and faster than I am, but once I got it figured out, it was really helpful and it made a lot of sense. So I'm really happy to share it with you. So here it is. When you look at intuition, and this is kind of what was throwing me off at the beginning, I wasn't thinking in terms of two types of intuition. So here's what we've got. Number one, you've got basic people skills, interpersonal understanding, knowing what people are thinking, reading their tone of voice, their posture, their speech, their eye contact, just catching that on. Now, I think it's probably pretty obvious that a lot of times women are a lot more intuitive here. I remember one time I took my college yearbook to my sister, and my oldest sister, Amy, looked at this yearbook, and she started looking at fellow students, classmates of mine, and just looked at these little pictures and told me stuff about their personalities that just came right out. And some of the stuff she was telling me, I didn't even know. But I went back and I just kind of curiously double checked and asked some others and talked to the people themselves and found out she was right on. A lot of times women, they just have this intuition, this sense where they can read people. And I've seen some guys do it too, but it's a lot more common with women. Now, you can develop that, and you can develop that by being around people and reading books on relationships. And that's helpful, but there's another type of intuition we're going to talk about, which is being able to see the big picture and not only see kind of the end result or the totality of what's happening right now, but also what you need to fill that picture out and what it's going to take to keep things chugging along. So a lot of times people are intuitive in their area of strength, and it's not just a sixth sense. Once you're born with it, you've got it, and if you don't got it, you're never going to get it. It's actually something that you can develop with use and experience. So here's a little bit about how leaders put it together. They look at their situation and they read the big picture again. How many processes are needed to produce a certain product, and how many people are needed on each team to contribute at what stage of development in the process. So all of that goes into knowing the whole totality of the situation. And also leaders look at the times and kind of sense which way things are going and what things are going to need to be put on the shelf and what things are going to need to be developed to absorb for what's coming down the road. Now, followers generally aren't quite so broadly focused. They've got specific tasks to achieve. They've got specific goals to accomplish. So they're going to be zoned in pretty tightly on what's immediately in front of them. Managers are often going to be focused on their own efficiency and effectiveness, trying to make sure the quotas are met and that the system is a well-oiled machine. And that's very providential. They can see a little bit ahead, but leaders are constantly looking beyond, trying to read just beyond what it's going to take to keep going, but what it's going to take to go further and to reach into the future and into new markets and new objectives and new dreams and new goals. So they see the whole organization and they're looking onward, not just days or weeks, but even years ahead. Now, a lot of times, this is where lower level employees just don't get it. A lot of times it's real easy to sit on the bottom and criticize the boss because of, they don't understand it from the lower level employee's perspective. I've been a lower level employee and I've talked with them and I've heard a lot of times what they think about their boss, and it's really funny how much advice they have to give to the boss and the owner of the company and why he's never seeming to do it the right way. Once you get into some of those situations, you do have to count the cost of what it takes to get jobs done, and maybe you'll have to cut from some resources to make other resources more productive, and sometimes it's a tough call. And so you're never going to keep everybody happy, but as a leader, you're going to focus on the whole situation so that you can make sure the priorities go to where the priorities are needed. So leaders are also, that's where this comes in, readers of their resources. They know what is needed and they know what they've got. And if they don't have what they need, they're going to do their best to try to compensate to make sure that they can find what they need. So workers are going to be asking the questions, well, how can I help? And really good employees and high achievers are going to be asking, how can I solve this issue? And how can I adjust for a better future and fewer repetitions of this problem? And leaders are just going to look for more of a final answer so that they can assign what's needed and keep moving forward. So they don't want to keep asking this question, but they're just going to say who needs to be in charge of this, what do they need to do it, and if we don't have it right now, what needs to be trained, hired, or rented. So they're looking at the resources they've got and learning how to implement what they do have, or how to staff or recruit or resource in some way what they don't have. All right, leaders are readers of people, and so you could say to some extent, of course, there's going to be some personality styles. How does so and so react under pressure, and what's the best way to communicate with Bob? But beyond that, a leader is going to have a good understanding of the gifts, the gifts, the skills, and the abilities that the people have. So they're going to know where to plug people into where they're best and most needed. Okay, I want to pause for just one. Okay, so leaders are readers of the people, and they look at what is needed for what kind of skills they have and where they can plug those skills into. I was just sitting down for supper with a guy, and it was a family meal. He runs a business, and we were new to town, so he and his wife had my wife and our family up, and we also had a house guest. This guy runs a internet company, and our guest was there, and she had interest in computers, and she said, yeah, I play around with stuff, and I like to play with C+ and HTML and WordPress, and right away the guy said, well, hey, I know you know more than most of the people I hire, and if you ever want a job, I'll make sure you have one. So that's a little bit about how a leader works. They just see what they need, they know what they need, and even whether or not they're actively recruiting for it, it's there. And then when they see somebody that's got it, they're going to do their best to make it happen as soon as they get the opportunity. All right. Leaders are also readers of themselves. So they take some time to know when they're going to break, how much they can take, and they're going to do what they need to do so that they could become better leaders and not only handle more responsibility, but lead better so that their team can achieve more and do better. So we talk about intuition. There are some natural levels of intuition, stages of intuition, sort of a natural ability, and then a nurtured ability. And then there's people that will never have a good ability at looking at this idea of intuition. But in case you're wondering, you wouldn't be here if you were in the top category. So most people have some natural ability, but you've got to nurture it. So everybody has some ability that you can start with. Few people have a just natural gifting, and even fewer people still are never going to get it. So somewhere in the bottom two tiers is where you are. But if you want to develop it, it's certainly possible to be developed with experience. And experience will develop with reflection. So I've talked to you before about the importance of spending time writing, reading, but writing and thinking and applying and reviewing. What have I done? What needs to happen again? What could happen better? And whether it was a win or a loss, how can it be better next time? So spend some time reflecting. And reflection is going to develop with application. So you don't just think about what you need to do next time. You actually make the effort and put a next time in place so that it will happen. And that skill will become stronger with experience. Okay. Now, pay attention to your instincts. And the next part is probably going to make some people upset. Your instincts may or may not be right. There is a common thread of thought that just says, follow your heart. Do what you feel like you should do. Just go with what feels like the right thing. Okay, pay attention to what you feel like, but don't just assume that because you feel like something that it's right. Hitler was a guy that felt like he was really doing the right thing, and it was stupid. It was immoral. It was evil. There are a lot of people that are addicted to vice. They feel like they need another hit of drugs and narcotics. There are people that are in abusive relationships that feel like they need to hang with someone that's going to emotionally and maybe even physically drag them down. Your feelings may or may not be right. Just because they're your feelings doesn't legitimize their correctness. Okay? So you do need to pay attention to them, and then you need to record what you felt and what the right action would be, and learn to lead your feelings. Learn to hone in on your instincts so you'll be able to have a better idea of when your intuition is being properly developed versus when just some fluttery thought is running roughshod over common sense and reason. So write it out, figure it out, and move intelligently. Okay, Read books on relationships so that you can learn to better understand and read people. Learn to converse longer and deeper with people. Pay attention to people. Learn what it takes to move a conversation beyond the small chit chat, blah, blah, blah. How's the weather? What do you think about the last sports event? And okay, let's dig in. Learn how to get in a situation where people can open up and start expressing themselves on issues that really do matter. All right. Think about current projects and goals. Now, this is really important. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to accomplish? What kind of objectives do you have in mind? And imagine how you can accomplish them without doing any of the actual hands-on work yourself, except you recruit, you empower, and you motivate the others to do it. That's how leaders put it all together. That's how they think. So when you start seeing a picture like that, who can do this? Who can do this better? How can I unload some of the stuff that doesn't need to be done so I can do, I don't unload stuff that I don't need to do so that I can do more of what I do need to do. You're going to be thinking and acting and equipping like a leader is supposed to move. All right. Any questions on the law of intuition? Countdown. All right. Good deal. Let's go on then to law number 9. The law of magnetism. You are who you attract. And this answers the questions, well, how do you attract better people? Let's talk about that. Think about some people that you wish you had around you. What are the qualities? Maybe not just the people, I shouldn't say, but the qualities. What kind of people do you want to have close to you, coming to you? What are you looking for in your business or personal relationships? And think about, why do you want those qualities? Well, here's the secret. Believe it or not, who you attract is not determined by what you want, no matter how much you want them. Is determined by what kind of person you are, by who you are. So you look at your own life, and then you look at the lives around you, and you'll find out that there are different factors that contribute to a current definition of who you are, like your leadership and your ability, your attitude, your background, your age, your energy, and your values. And you just start looking at the people that you feel comfortable with, that you have camaraderie with, that you talk on the phone with. And there's probably a fair amount of overlap in a number of these areas that you see there on the screen, because who you are is who you attract. So you can think about a question here. What if I don't like those who are around me? I got a bunch of losers hanging around me. Maybe that's a bad sign. Yeah, that's probably a bad sign. I hate to break it to you, but there's a way out of that. What you do is you practice the law of process, as we talked about a few days ago, and you start changing your priorities, your goals, your values to reflect what is more wholesome and beneficial, and you'll find yourself, it won't be immediate, but you will find yourself moving on to better people and better places. Now, what about if I look around and I'm really happy? I've got great friends and I've got great business relationships, and I'm just having a party. What do I do from here? Well, keep going upward and recruit people who are different. Uh, Maybe they do have uh, some different values than you do. Maybe there's some disagreement there, but look for variety to strengthen your overall reach and ability to connect with more people. Now, remember this: it is possible for a leader to recruit people that are different than you, unlike you. But those are not the people that you're going to naturally attract. So I'm talking about how do you want to just naturally have people come to you because they like you? Well, you've got to change in a way that you become someone that you naturally want to be like. So you've got to develop those qualities and those characteristics. Um, Practical example of this was in the American Civil War. Uh, the South was seceding from the North and wanted to make their own country. And right away, that was obviously going to be a major political fiasco. And so the President Lincoln reached out to tap Robert E. Lee on the shoulder because he really was the best. And Robert E. Lee had already determined that my first country is my state. And if my state goes south, then I'm going south with it. And that's exactly what happened. Well, that was not a very good scenario for the North and for the federal government because when Robert E. Lee went south, he was a fantastic general, extremely decisive and insightful on the battlefield. And immediately, what happened is that the good and the best generals started to fall in right around Robert E. Lee and made the South, with much less financial resources, a very formidable force to conquer. And Abraham Lincoln had a very difficult time trying to find general. He went through numbers of generals in the North until he found somebody that could take on Lee and the types of people that Lee had attracted to him. So, classic example of what it means that you are who you attract. So, look at your life and look what you want to see on your team or in your community or as you accomplish some goals. Um, uh, Write down the qualities that you desire in your followers. Do you have the qualities that you want? Go ahead and again, open yourself up to double check with a trusted source. List your 5 greatest strengths, list your 5 greatest weaknesses, and then find somebody, find a mentor that can ask you the tough questions and help you grow in the areas where you're going to need it. Because you will want to have some outside eyes looking and giving you an objective opinion. Now, where you've got a character issue, fix it right now. Get on your face before God and ask for divine help to change your nature. God does that kind of thing. But if you have a skill or an area of weakness, you probably want to strengthen your skills and recruit or staff according to your weakness. You're going to spend a lot of time trying to get your weaknesses up to par, but it'll be worth far more to put that amount of time in your skills. That'll take you much further, and then find somebody else who's skilled in your area of weakness. Okay, well, that will probably cover it for today's session together. We're just about out of time, and I'm not quite sure I've got time to get into another law, but we're getting near the end. So you've come this far, and I think we'll come back together next Monday, same time, and finish up. Any questions or thoughts or reflections at this point? All right.
I have a question.
Sure.
Oh, sorry, I'm talking on that. So you said one of the ways to probably help this law of magnetism, if you realize that around you is maybe not the best people, then you'd go to the law of process and you'd begin to develop yourself.
Right.
It seems. It also seems that the law of the inner circle would have something to say about this. Have you talked about the law of the inner circle yet?
I not in this session, no.
Oh, okay.
That's yet to come. I'm not. Yeah, we'll get there. But you're right. You're right. And a lot of times there's a fine difference between magnetism and the inner circle. And what magnetism says is that to naturally attract, you need to be that kind of a person. Okay. The inner circle is more saying be decisive about how you attract, and if you don't, naturally attract, then go ahead and link up and try to recruit some other people um, that can balance you out and propel you forward. So there is a fine difference there, and it's a both and situation. Now, if you develop your inner circle, um, it'll be a lot easier to keep in your inner circle if you paid attention to the law of magnetism. Yeah. All right, good. Anything else? All right. I'm seeing a chat here. Okay. All right. Well, we're glad you're here, and I'll try to have this on YouTube for anybody that would like to review it or that missed it. And then we'll plan on seeing you again at 1 o'clock Monday. So, okay. Blessings. Catch you later. Bye-bye.